This broadcast is brought to you by Chase, investing in schools, homes, and communities all over Indianapolis with a focus on the Near East Side. This is what Chase is doing. This is the way forward. Citizens Energy Group, a proud supporter of the Super Bowl Legacy Project and dedicated to raising the quality of life in the Indianapolis community. Information at citizensenergygroup.com. INHP, helping working families become and remain homeowners by providing preparation and support for success today and tomorrow. Homeownership has the potential to preserve neighborhoods and strengthen communities into the future. Dream, prepare, succeed.
There are many records associated with the Super Bowl, but none measures how the crown jewel of the NFL can change the character of a community, and perhaps one should, as the Indianapolis Super Bowl Legacy Project seeks to transform not only a city, but a world, and shows how much change is possible when the planet's most popular sporting event is played straight from the heart.
3, 2, 1.
I think everything I ever wanted, I'm going to have an opportunity to live to see come true.
We've stopped saying you're not going to believe what happened because things keep happening.
Passion comes from making it the best place it possibly can be.
If you're going to strengthen a neighborhood, doesn't it make sense to do that by strengthening the residents that live there?
We've invested in this neighborhood. We're here for the long haul.
The Super Bowl is coming to Indianapolis, Indiana in 125 days.
The mayor said that the call from him to me about deciding to go after Super Bowl 46 was out of the blue. I remember holding the phone and thinking, it's not out of the blue, it's off the wall.
What we envisioned a few short years ago is now coming to life and it's becoming a reality, and we're excited to share it with you.
We're in high gear now, and it's just been incredible to watch.
It's fantastic. Our city continues to impress people across the country, and once again, we've set the standard very high with the Super Bowl project.
And we've said since the beginning that this Super Bowl for Indianapolis, Indiana was going to be more than just what happens in the football field.
And the change that's happening is just so special, and it's a memory that we're going to carry with us long after the 2012 Super Bowl. We'll carry it with us forever.
It all started with a pledge. The community leaders who are bringing the Super Bowl to Indianapolis will use the power of the game to revitalize the Near East Side. That promise is taking shape everywhere, like here at Pogues Run Art and Nature Park, where the goal of adding 2012 trees to the neighborhood by 2012 became official with the planting of the final tree.
Trees are an incredible metaphor for strength, life, beauty, vibrancy. And so these trees are a powerful symbol for what's happening here in this neighborhood.
Maria Quintana grew up on the Near East Side and remembers the area fondly.
Back in April of, it would have been 68, Bobby Kennedy was here in Indianapolis, and he was coming down East 10th Street. I was slammed up against the car that he was driving in and let out a yelp because he almost ran over my toe, and was pulled up into the car and had the opportunity to ride down to the fire station with him and get his autograph.
But then everything changed.
You started seeing the changes in the neighborhood, and you just started seeing a lot more drugs and crime in the neighborhood. You were starting to see vacant housing.
40% at one time of these homes were boarded up abandoned houses.
Which attracts the crime, and then which attracts more houses going because people will move out because of the crime, and it's just a vicious cycle.
Some called the area distressed, at risk, declining. One thing was certain. A decade ago, few who had turned the corner wanted to call it home.
Those that were now making a livable wage, or those that had decided to buy their first home, you know, those that had moved up the economic spectrum, and over 97% of them were deciding to move out of the neighborhood. And that was kind of a hard truth for us to deal with as an organization, because we believe we're here about building community.
And that's why 2012 Symbols of New Life are indeed the right metaphor, as a new wave of homeowners is helping to turn this once failing community around.
We've had probably 50 years now of Quintanas living at this address, and there's a lot of new people that have moved into the community, and being able to rebuild a neighborhood, I think is they have a passion for that. I think it takes a special person to move into a neighborhood like this.
Nowhere is the canvas of new faces mixed in with longtime residents more apparent than here. The Feast of Lanterns, and as metaphors go, it's a pretty good one too. It began in 1898, faded into obscurity, and has now been revived by an all-volunteer crew, cherishing the neighborhood's history while not trying to recreate it.
The first year I went to the feast, I was flabbergasted as to how beautiful it was, and I felt as though I was walking into a movie set. It was so magical, and I knew then that I wanted to be part of it.
The creme de la East Side is everywhere, including a familiar face, and I do like the name.
I know when I was a kid, I didn't have a lot of opportunities to do things. And so to be able to give those opportunities to other kids that might not get that really makes me feel good.
I adore my neighborhood. I adore my house. I bought my house for next to nothing, and I've been having the time of my life fixing it up.
I love all kinds of places throughout the world. I choose to live here. This is a place, a neighborhood of choice, not a neighborhood of last resort.
Inglewood Christian Church on Rural used to be a commuter parish. You would pray, but wouldn't stay.
We went from probably about 75% of the folks driving in to now 75% of the folks live in the neighborhood.
And for a neighborhood into fixer-uppers, Inglewood Christian found the ultimate one, and it's gotten a big boost from the spotlight shown on it by the Super Bowl Legacy Project. This is Lucretia Mott, school number 3, whose classrooms once housed turn-of-the-last-century children needing fresh air and healthy food. 32 units, and while most will sell at market rate, 10 will be set aside for those with special circumstances.
If you just run people out of one neighborhood, you're not fixing any problem. That's just geography. But if you're going to create some affordable housing opportunities so that they can stay and live and work in this neighborhood, then you're helping to fix the problem.
We wanted to create a place where people from all walks of life would reside, and that we would make spaces for individuals that were vulnerable. So when the neighborhood transitions from one of last resort to one of choice, there will always be a place for some of the most vulnerable families in our community.
You won't walk into a unit and say, oh, this is a supportive unit or this is a market rate unit. And they'll just be very, very nice, very comfortable units.
This building is kind of a microcosm of what we envision our neighborhood to be, and that is folks who may have a little bit more financial resources, living next to folks who have struggled, and they're all living there as neighbors with each other, pulling for each other, working with each other, and giving back to the neighborhood in general.
We're calling it the Commonwealth, and that's in recognition that each person brings a lot of gifts and talents to the community, and that's something we've always valued.
When you're earning less than $8 an hour, and it costs over $11 an hour, relatively so, to afford a market rate 2-bedroom apartment, people can't afford it. I mean, it's not within the affordability range. So they end up without a home. In fact, 40% of the homeless are families. And the average age of the homeless person in Indianapolis is between 7 and 9 years old.
When jobs dried up in Danville, Illinois, Donald Boykins and his family moved to Indianapolis. Here, he found a job right away, but it had taken his last dime to rent a U-Haul and put down a deposit and first month's rent on a home for his wife and 5 children, a house that was not what it seemed.
The lights, the gas, and the water was in our name, and it was supposed to be cut on. But when we got to the house, there was nothing on because there was no copper pipes, no copper wiring, anything in the house. The house was just like an abandoned house. Actually, one of our neighbors, he would run a extension cord from his house to our house to get us some kind of electricity, so at least we can cook a dinner.
For 2.5 months, Donald struggled to get the utility fixed, but with limited resources, he was overwhelmed. The family pulled enough money together to move again, but their next home was not much better.
It was wood floors, but you can see straight through the cracks to the basement. And it was just regular paint on the floors. So what happened was it eventually made my son's lead level go up. So we had to get out of that house.
Now, if you thought 2012 trees by 2012 was some nice synergy, I have some other numbers for you. There are 32 teams in the NFL. It's also the 100th anniversary of the Metropolitan Indianapolis Board of Realtors. The result, the Centennial Homes, a Super Bowl legacy-inspired project to use seed money offered by the Realtors Foundation to take possession of some of the neighborhood's abandoned homes and turn them into 32 affordable rentals for people victimized by slumlords.
One of the things that was fundamentally important to us was a project that wasn't some short-term feel-good thing to do just for the centennial year, but something that would make an ongoing contribution to the Indianapolis community now and into the foreseeable future. As the people are moving in, we're helping a little bit with that. We realtors, with what we have called an adopt-a-home plan, which is to help the people with household goods, kitchen utensils and things when they move in, because most of these folks come from shelters. They have, in some cases, literally only the clothes on their backs.
When I come here from work, I feel real good, relaxed. It's just like all the pressure and stress just lifted from my shoulders. My son's lead level, his lead level went down. I mean, it went down tremendously. And this house, yes, they are thriving. They love this house.
If someone wants to help themselves, if they'll reach a hand up and you reach a hand out, that you can change people's lives. And it's just a matter of the desire on the part of the person and then having the help available when they want it.
3 things we know. We were born, we're gonna die, and that if we make roux and add liquid to it and turn on the heat, that liquid is gonna thicken up.
Finding a place to live is only part of the equation. Finding work is another. Not easy when every day is a struggle.
You know, we're dealing with some people that truly, some are in crisis situations. One thing that we know is that if they apply for this program, there's a desire within them to improve the quality of life that they have.
Manage that clock. If you give me 20 minutes, I don't have time to put 15 ingredients in there.
Since its beginning 13 years ago, Second Helpings has rescued 15 million pounds of food that would have gone straight to the dumpster. But more than that, it pulled nearly 500 graduates out of crisis and put them into the workforce.
This is a miracle. So I came here and I slept on that patio right there because I was afraid of getting anything dirty in this place. I really was. That's how scared I was, and I felt like so humble and so blessed that this is the reality of life.
Sunil Deo tells his story easily. He lives here in the Bonner Center's Jefferson Apartments, and it's another unique partnership between the center and Second Helpings that saved Sunil's life when he lost everything to alcohol and was living under a bridge.
It was almost 12 inches of snow that night. So I only had sandals on me and a t-shirt. So I really fell down on the ground and I prayed God that, look, I don't want to live this life again.
4 months in the Hamilton County Jail had left him with nothing except a slim hope. A former restaurant manager, Sunil began working in the jail kitchen and made a vow to use those skills to turn his life around.
Hey, my day will come. I will go from Hamilton to Hilton. I said, I don't know how, but I will.
Carl Conway was Sunil's mentor at Second Helpings.
It's an attitude adjustment. You have a right to certain things. First of all, you have to know what your rights are and how to access them and how to be persistent. And that's probably the most important thing we teach them, is that you have as much right to success as anybody else.
I took that as a challenge, that the people who are saying he's not worth it, he's not worth a dime. Every time I will go to my class, I was reminding myself, you are not all Sunil again. You are not all bags sitting under the bridge and looking for that drink again. you are going to go and get that credit for your class. You're going to go and get that job that you need.
Sunil's now a successful chef downtown. And guess where?
I actually went from Hamilton to Hilton.
You get the wishbone out? Parts of it, huh? Parts of it. That's all right. Don't make a wish. It ain't gonna come true. All right.
When we graduate a student, we've rescued a family. We didn't just graduate that student, so that income in that household makes that entire household a little bit more stable, and in turn, that makes our community a little bit more better.
And the thing is, with Chef Brown, he understands it, so he knows better than anybody, I think, what the needs are.
I've made lots of bad decisions with drugs and alcohol, selling drugs, and then eventually using drugs, and I became homeless. I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to be a student here and a graduate from this program. You know, I just wanted to prove to the community and to the other guys that are probably still on the street homeless that, you know, if you make good decisions and you humble yourself and work hard, that you don't have to stay in the situation that you're in. So.
Yes.
Okay.
I succeeded.
All righty. So the relationship.
That's what it's all about, right?
Exactly.
There.
Right.
She said, "I succeeded," and raised her hands
right.
up. I mean, that means you done crossed the finish line.
There you go.
I think that's what your goal.
That's what it's all about.
Is all about.
That's
right
what this
there.
organization is all about.
That is what it's all about. And if there's one thing the progress on the Near East Side and the Super Bowl Legacy Project has shown again and again is that when there's a team in place with the commitment to make it so, things start to happen.
This neighborhood has had some real problems. I'm not going to deny that. It has not completely transitioned yet. But for the sake of the people who have weathered this storm, we owe it to them to improve this neighborhood.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And it's my home, my neighborhood, and it's where I stay, hopefully till I die.
I can actually see myself excelling, you know, being prosperous here.
Yeah, you'd have to take a dynamite to blast me out of this place.
You know, I love being raised on the Near East Side. I love the neighborhood, and I'd love to see it turn around.
And Sunil, well, he's now one of the official ambassadors of the Super Bowl host committee's 46 Faces, people whose character defines what it means to live in Indianapolis. But what's that he's wearing around his neck? It's a super scarf, and I'm sure you heard of them. 10,000 blue and white ones knitted by people all over the country have made their way to the 2012 Super Bowl host committee's offices. But the ones you are about to see are meant for a select audience, 200 pink scarves in honor of breast cancer survivors.
Well, we're a little tired of blue and white. That's why we're happy to be doing the pink.
I'm knitting 4 scarves at a time. I have one by my bed, I have one in the family room, one in the car, and one in my kitchen. And if I have a few moments, I start knitting.
That's what happened with us middle-aged women snap. Indianapolis has always been a city which has a volunteer spirit. It's sort of like a big small town. It's sort of, you talk to somebody for 5 or 10 minutes and start, do you know so-and-so, do you know so-and-so, and you find a connection.
Now you might ask, with such close-knit group as this, is there life after Super Scarves?
We're actually out there exploring opportunities. We understand there are some projects at Riley knitting things for newborns. There are also some projects for women who have undergone chemotherapy, knitting caps for them.
I'm the crocheter of the bunch. I'm the crocheter. And this is the latest one that we're doing for breast cancer, and it looks like a pink ribbon when you get it together. No, it is not your grandmother's crochet. I'm a survivor's daughter. I'm the niece of a survivor. I'm the cousin of a survivor, and I lost a first cousin who was 3 months older than I to breast cancer.
1 in 8 women is diagnosed with breast cancer at some point in her life. That figure didn't mean much to Tracy Runge, a 43-year-old mother of 3, until April 15, 2010.
I was 3 days away from competing in my first triathlon, and it was just heartbreaking because I had no family history, I was healthy, I was everything that it shouldn't be, but it did happen.
What Tracy didn't know was that she was on the verge of making medical history. In 1998, the National Cancer Institute issued a report defining the barriers to further progress in the study of breast cancer. At the very top of the list, a lack of understanding of normal breast development. 5 years later, nothing had been done.
We were at a conference, our keynote speaker was from the National Cancer Institute, and she was asked by one of the basic science researchers in the audience. She said, you know, I've got this great idea, I've got it all set up, I'm just waiting for the normal controls. And I'll never forget it, the physician looked right at her and said, well, you're going to wait a long time because they don't exist.
Two-time breast cancer survivor Connie Ruthenbarger was also at the conference.
And I knew that we could fix that. If that's what they needed, women would certainly do that.
On October 1st, 2007, with funding from the Catherine Peachy Fund, the Susan G. Komen for the Cure Tissue Bank at IU Simon Cancer Center opened its doors as the first ever tissue bank in the world to collect both healthy and cancerous breast tissue. It was not long after that Tracy showed up to donate her healthy tissue. The mother of one of her daughter's friends had breast cancer, and Tracy wanted to do something to honor her.
And as she was walking out, we were doing a little bit of filming, asking women why they were there and what this was all about. And I'll never forget it, she looked right at the camera, and as you know, she is just a lovely, almost statuesque young woman, and she looked right at the camera and said, I don't have any family history, but my life has been touched by friends and family members of friends that have died of this disease, and I want to do everything I can. I have 3 daughters, and she just looked down and she said, just take all you want. It's fine.
3 years later, in April 2010, they got another call from Tracy. She wanted to donate again before she started chemotherapy. This would make her the first woman in the world to donate both healthy and cancerous breast tissue.
So that's how I started my fight, was by donating it, and the whole thought was, sorry, if I was going to die, I wanted to save my girls. And I knew this was the last thing I could do to save them. So I did it for them and for other women. So that way, you know, if they could find anything, maybe they could save one life with the research on my tissue.
And she was at my house one night. We were talking about her illness and recovery, and I started thinking about the platform of Super Bowl and how this really could be a marriage made in heaven for us as a local community to have such an amazing asset and resource as the Komen Tissue Bank here. And if you partner that with the Super Bowl, what great things we can accomplish in a journey towards solving breast cancer.
And that was how Indy Supercure was born in July of 2011. But the history making did not stop there.
I've seen many pathology reports. And that day I was looking at a path report that had my name on it.
An assistant to one of the oncologists at the cancer center, 50-year-old Lisa Miller had opted to donate healthy tissue when the bank first opened up. 3 years later, Lisa received her own diagnosis of breast cancer.
So now we have these 2 matched sets, if you will. That in and of itself is important because, again, we have blood and tissue. That means we can look at DNA, RNA, proteins, and compare which proteins appear to be expressed in the cancer that are not expressed in the unaffected normal, or the other way around.
Now Lisa became the second woman in the world to donate both kinds of tissue. Since the beginning, more than 1,700 women have donated tissue, with 500 more women signed up to donate 1 week before the Super Bowl. The samples are stored in liquid nitrogen tanks and made available to researchers all over the world via Komen's virtual tissue bank, through which researchers are required to share their findings with others in an open source database.
Everyone knows someone that has been affected by this disease, and it's time to, to get the grassroots up and have everyone be able to help in a very, very substantive way.
And Hoosiers are so humble. We don't frequently use the megaphone and shout to the world about all the great things that we do here. And so we're going to let the Super Bowl do that through the NFL, the Colts, and the host committee, and at the same time really impacting the advancement of breast cancer research.
It is an opportunity for me to be out there and do whatever I can to help bring awareness to not only women around the world, but to people who are watching this Super Bowl. Research is our answer. I just can't stress that enough.
I had a recurring dream that I really haven't talked about until this project. When I was young, I would be in a kitchen in a white farmhouse, and there's a beautiful yard with flowers at the end of the yard and a little girl playing in the yard. But I know, because I'm her mother, that there's a train track in the back of that yard behind those flowers. And she'd be playing, and I'd be doing dishes, and she'd be moving towards the back of the yard, and then I'd wake up. I'd hear a train coming, and I'd wake up. It happened so many times that I would dread that dream. And I think it was that I knew that she's my daughter. I've had breast cancer. You can't leave your daughter on the train track and hope that the train doesn't hit her. The same train track that kills 40,000 women a year. And I thought it would be done by the time she was 34, but by golly, we're going to get it done before it happens or before my granddaughters have to deal with it. So I think all women have a different vision of why they do it, but it's usually about not leaving our daughters on the train track, I think.
This broadcast is brought to you by Chase, investing in schools, homes, and communities all over Indianapolis with a focus on the Near East Side. This is what Chase is doing. This is the way forward. Citizens Energy Group, a proud supporter of the Super Bowl Legacy Project and dedicated to raising the quality of life in the Indianapolis community. Information at citizensenergygroup.com. INHP, helping working families become and remain homeowners by providing preparation and support for success today and tomorrow. Homeownership has the potential to preserve neighborhoods and strengthen communities into the future. Dream, prepare, succeed.